So, how many of you remember the children's book, Are You My Mother? Yes, many. I see many hands raising. It's always been one of my favorite books. I loved all of the Dr. Seuss books. Perhaps that might jog a memory from a long time ago. And for those who maybe you read it, but you don't really remember it, or perhaps you never had the pleasure, it tells the story of a baby bird who hatches in the nest while the mother is away gathering food. And not knowing when he comes out of the egg who his mother is, he climbs out of the nest and goes on this great adventure to find her, asking everyone and, in its little bird way, everything that it encounters, are you my mother? He has a kitten and a hen and a dog and a boat and a car and an airplane, even this giant construction crane. Everything he encounters becomes a possibility that this is indeed his mother. Until that, what seemed to be very scary crane scoops the little bird up and returns him to his nest, where he is then reunited and knows and feels and celebrates that he's safe and home with his mother. It's a lovely little children's story, but it is also a remarkably accurate description of this human journey that we're on. From the moment we become aware of ourselves, we begin searching for where we belong. The question, those eternal questions, who am I? Where do I belong? Where is that place that I feel safe and loved and accepted, where it feels like it is home? We use that, yeah, I felt like I was home. Was that feeling that lets us know this is where we belong. As a children, it might be with our parents or caregivers or in some kind of place that provides for our basic needs. Then when adolescence arrives, there is something innately within us that drives us to ask that question again beyond just what we've known in that safe space, that urges us to leave the nest and go out on this journey of discovery. And we believe that if we continue to just ask the right questions to the right people, be in the right place, that maybe it's this relationship that's going to be the place where I feel safe and where I belong. Perhaps it's being successful at a certain career. Perhaps it's financial security, or it's some kind of recognition in the world that we have somehow found that place where other people value who we are. Most of us spend our lives moving from one experience to the next, hoping, asking that same question as the bird did. Is this my place? Is this where I'm safe? Is this where I belong? Is this the moment when I can stop searching finally? Sometimes we believe we found it, and for a time, perhaps we get to experience that, and then life changes. Because in the human experience, the only constant is change. Relationships evolve, careers shift, health changes, children grow up, parents grow older, dreams are fulfilled, or some are destined never to become true. New ones might be born. Everything in our lives, including us, including the bodies that we identify as us, changes. It's the natural rhythm of this experience that we call life. The suffering begins when we cling to what is already in the process of changing. When we decide, and we at times even insist, that what comes into our lives has to stay exactly as it is always. Have you ever had that desire that this, whatever it is so wonderful the way it is right now, and I'm not going to be okay. I will not participate in it changing if I can have any say in it at all. And when we tighten our grip, as the tide is already pulling away, we discover what it is to be in that place and to be launched into a search once again to try and find where it is that we belong, where we can feel that sense of safety. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to explore how we might be able to step into this awareness, this truth about this human journey from a different understanding, a different perspective, and hopefully even a different practice around how we engage with it. The subtitle is Allowing the Divine to Lead the Way, from the book that I'm going to be using, at least in part. She's one of my favorites, called Outrageous Openness. It is a way to learn to trust that the one constant, to trust the one constant that exists beneath, at the very source of every change, that presence, the one that we call God or Spirit or Source or unconditional love or the Christ divinity that is within all things. We're going to explore a way of cultivating our intuition and the practice of listening more deeply to what we're going to call divine guidance. Perhaps has different names depending on how you might have experienced or explored it before, so that we can move through whatever's going on with greater ease. And yes, there is actually a tremendous amount of freedom that comes by allowing the divine to lead the way, to try and navigate life with an open hand rather than one that is grasping very tightly to whatever may be happening in this moment, this clenched fist that somehow we want to learn how we can open, or at least loosen our grip, perhaps just a little bit. I know. Nicole, are you looking at me? Noelle, of saying, all right, Linda, we were just talking about some challenges that are the same thing, that it's for all of us at all different times in our life. It just is the way life is. But before we can enter that flow, something must happen. And that is this willingness to, even if we have to, one finger at a time, and then take something else and put it on top of it, see how long we can meet life like this. The Buddha taught that the root of all suffering is attachment. The path toward enlightenment begins by releasing that attachment to people, to possessions, to outcomes, to identities, and to allow what the true essence of us be what guides and leads us. Jesus was able to embody the same wisdom in a way that very few have been able to do. You know, as he prepared to begin his ministry, we're told that he spent 40 days in the wilderness. I don't imagine that he spent those 40 days creating a 5-year strategic plan. You know, like, okay, goal number 1, I gotta get back to Nazareth, and then I'm going to find 12 people, 12 men that can help me with this. You know, we want to have diversity and equity amongst this, so I'm gonna get a couple fishermen and a tax collector and, you know, try and get a good swath of the community that I'm in, and then I'm going to need to have a plan to get to Jerusalem and to challenge the religious establishment and heal a few people along the way and stir up enough trouble to get arrested and be crucified so then I can glory in the resurrection. I don't know anybody who would have said yes to that. But that's kind of the way we want it laid out for our lives, isn't it? We'd like to know exactly how, when, where this is all going to unfold so that we can know exactly and be able to control and direct how it's going to look a little bit. The wilderness was not about planning for the future. It was about, in this particular case, and oftentimes for us, mastering the ego. It was about releasing every attachment that would tempt him to use his spiritual power for personal gain. That might tempt him to use that power for his own comfort, or to get approval, or to have that powerful sense of control. The temptations of the devil symbolize the voice that whispers, you know what, you know how to do this, just take control. Come on, just jump on in there, take control, guide it, or it's time to protect yourself. Don't let anybody else get too close to this. Or, you are powerful, go make life happen on your own terms. In fact, that's kind of, in many ways, the very foundation of how this country was started. Just go do it. Grab control and make it happen. And there's nothing that's innately wrong with that. It's just who's driving. Who's driving that desire and those outcomes for what that path is going to look like. Jesus chose a different path. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't experience the fullness of life, the full range of human emotions, because from the stories that we're told, he certainly did. You can hear his frustration at times when he's gathered these guys around and told them everything he knows, and they still don't quite seem to have a clue to what he's talking about. You can feel his, what some might call righteous anger as he overturns the tables at the temple. You can sense his grief and his compassion and his weariness as he's doing his service to offer healing when he can. Jesus experienced the fullness of the human journey. The difference wasn't that he avoided emotions or challenges or difficult circumstances or deviations to the path of where he thought life experience was going to take him. The difference was he didn't become attached to what that looked like and how that would unfold. He didn't spend the evenings replaying the day's events over and over again, as we sometimes do. Can you believe what those priests did today? Can you believe what they said? Can you believe what those people... He didn't spend the night figuring out who was wrong and who didn't show up the way they were supposed to, and even pondering who he may not have healed that needed to be healed in that process. The emotions came through, he felt them fully, but he had the capacity to then release them. Joy certainly flowed through him, and grief flowed through him. Love was there in high volumes of divine connection, and so too anger had its moments to be a part of that experience. But nothing stayed long enough to become his identity. He even demonstrated this freedom from attachment to relationships, which is where we kind of get hung up, I think, and it's pretty hard not to in our humanness. In the Gospel of both Mark, Matthew, and Luke, and I always say, if it's in all three Gospels, then you know it was probably a pretty well-worn teaching tool of his time. But we hear this same story, I think just because of its shock value. When someone tells him he's preaching to a group of people, and somebody comes up to him and says, hey, your mom and your brothers are out there, and they said, they need to speak with you. And he takes that news and he looks at the people who have just heard this sitting around this, and he said, who are my mother and my brothers? And looking at those gathered, he said, here are my mother and my brothers. He wasn't rejecting his family, but he was expanding. He was using that moment to teach the people who were in front of him that family was not necessarily something that was biologically connected, but his identity, what he was sharing with them, rested with the divine and with all those relationships that came as a result, not necessarily with any that he was physically attached to in any given moment. Seems like it's a pretty challenging thing to have to try and live into. But with practice, it becomes probably one of the most freeing ways that we can navigate each day, to just simply be open to what shows up, to be willing to let the fullness of it be a part of our experience, and then be willing to let it go so that we can be ready to be open for what shows up in the next day. If we truly want to live in the flow of divine guidance, we must learn to love what comes into our lives without clinging to it, and to love what leaves without restricting it. I want you to hear that. That's the way, if we want to live, some would say even the will of God, although that always to me had a negative notation. It's like, the will of God, who would want to do that? That sounds horrible. That's the church I grew up in. There's no fun in that. But to discover that the will of God is the joy, is the love, is the life, is the celebration of the very breath that we breathe every day. And that's available to us. But we have to be willing to love what comes into our lives without clinging to it. And we have to be willing to love what leaves. We might mourn it, we might grieve it, but we can't resist it. It's in the resistance that we find our pain. To receive each moment with gratitude and to release each moment with grace. To trust what is truly ours can never be lost, because our source is not found in the changing circumstances, but in the unchanging presence of God. Tosha Silver, who is the author of Outrageous Openness, which is, I'm going to use a few of her ideas from that. She also has a book called Change Me Prayers. I've shared them occasionally over the years. I'll sprinkle them in every now and then, but it's one of my favorite places to go to when I'm struggling with something and I just want to figure out how I can let it go. Maybe I'm not looking for what the answer is, but just how can I open my hand a little bit about this? And she offers these prayers as an opportunity and meditation of reflection to see what we can unblock and allow that flow to get moving in our own systems again. So as we move into our time of meditation, that time where we just bring our attention inward, where we breathe into and to the best of our ability bring ourselves into the awareness of this present moment. I just invite you to get comfortable where you are for these next few minutes. It can make it easier to bring your awareness inward Sometimes if you are willing to close your outer eyes and just become aware of your breath as it flows in and out of your body. Remembering that it's always happening, even though the vast majority of the time you are unaware of its movement. That it happens unconsciously. And that the divine is the same, it is always present, always moving, breathing, offering with its open hand guidance and love in every moment. We just have to be willing in this present moment to receive it with an open hand. So we let this prayer move through our minds, express through our hearts, and allow whatever is wanting to come to be welcomed, whatever is seeking to leave to be released with love and with grace. Allow my words to become yours. Divine Beloved, let me release all that is outgrown and align with the divine for the highest unfolding. The perfect roots are already selected and will unfold naturally and easily. Let me know my true nature as love. Divine Beloved, change me into one who easily releases all that wishes to go. Let me move with courage and ease as I stand on the threshold of the new. Let me trust all that needs to happen will happen in the most uplifting and joyous ways. What is needed is already known. I will be guided, shown, and provided for in every way. You are me. I am you. We are one. All is well. Breathe that awareness into every cell of your body. Every neural pathway in your mind. And with the eternity of your soul. Now taking another deep breath in, as you let that breath go, begin to bring your awareness back to this time and space. Aware once again of your body, of the chair that's supporting you, the sounds in the room, of the breath moving in and out of your being. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. In her book, Outrageous Openness, the author writes that when you make the divine your source, your true mother and father, you move through with ease and lightness, with the ability to have an open hand. You allow whatever wishes to come, come, and whatever wishes to go, go. And perhaps that little bird had been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of asking every passing thing, "Are you my mother?" maybe the deeper question is this: can I learn to trust the one presence that has been carrying me all along? Can I learn to trust that when I was in that nest, all was well? Can I learn to trust that with every adventure I had, I wasn't ultimately seeking to find something, I was seeking to remember that it was with me, that I was home wherever I was. The truth is that every one of us is going to have moments when life doesn't unfold the way we planned. The people that we depend on may not always be there. The roles that we've identified as who we are may change. The dreams that we've carefully cultivated may shift. And yet beneath everything, every changing circumstance, every flow of people in and out of our life is the one presence that never leaves, that never withdraws its love, that never stops calling us to remember that we are home. And that when we discover that God, whatever name we want to attach to that, is our true source, is our mother and our father and our brother and our sister and our mentor and our tormentor, it's all one source. We no longer have to keep asking the world to give us what only the divine can. We can open our hands and release our fear and rest in the quiet assurance that we are always held. We are always guided if we want to pay attention, and that we are deeply loved. So as you listen to this special music today, let it become your own prayer of gratitude. Not because life has always been easy or given you exactly what you wanted, but because through every joy, every heartbreak, every detour, and every wilderness, there has been a faithful presence walking beside you. And perhaps by the time that the song ends, you'll find yourself saying with deeper conviction, "Thank God I do." Thank God I do. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this community. It is through the tithes, the gifts, the love offerings, the many channels of good that flows that allows us to do all that's ours to do. We celebrate, we've been able to do what's ours to do this year so far with what we've had. We haven't had to go beyond what we've been contributing to get the air conditioner done, to get the property insurance paid. So that is some huge progress, and we're just grateful for the ways that you continue to support this community. In just a minute, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row. And as you come to the larger basket, you can share your gift with us today. If you're not sharing today because either you give electronically, which many people do now, or this isn't your Sunday to share, we want you to still come and be in that flow, feel that sense of giving and receiving. Remember how you are giving and receiving in life. You can put a little card in there that says, "I give electronically," or you can just add your energy to the basket. You'll see that flow continuing to move in and through us. And then you can receive an affirmation to bless you for this week. And for those of you who are watching online, you can go to our website, you can give right there. And then if you scroll down a little bit, they have random affirmations to share with you whenever you give. So you can get that same positive thought process to carry you through the week and see what the divine has for you to remember and to practice during the week. So let us take what we offer today into our hands and into our hearts. as we join and bless these gifts together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
All right, everybody, we're going to stand up. We're going to make a big circle around the auditorium, and we'll do our peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our brother. Family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And as we go into this week and we make it an adventure, allowing the divine to lead the way, we can go in the awareness of our prayer for protection. We'll do it as call and response. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is and all is well. Yes. I will see you tomorrow, 9:30.